Hollywood is known for its iconic films and legendary stars. But beneath the surface, tragedy has struck more times than from on-set disasters to freak accidents. We're uncovering the stories behind 20 of the worst fatal accidents in Hollywood history. Let's get into it. Number 20. The Conqueror. The Conqueror is a 1956 American epic historical drama directed by Dick Powell and written by Oscar Miller. It stars John Wayne as Genghis Khan, with Susan Hayward, Agnes Moorehead, and Pedro Armendariz. Produced by Howard Hughes, the film was primarily shot near St. George, Utah. In his later years, John Wayne, who played the main character, would wince and avoid discussing the Conqueror. Once, he remarked, "It's best not to make an ass of yourself filling roles you're not suited for." Casting Iowa-born Wayne as Genghis Khan was indeed a poor choice, but the 1956 production had bigger problems. Often dubbed one of the worst films ever made, it was filmed in Snow Canyon, Utah. Years before, Snow Canyon had been covered in radioactive fallout from atom bomb tests in Yucca Flats, Nevada. This exposure affected many on set. Additionally, over 60 tons of contaminated soil from Snow Canyon was shipped to Los Angeles for reshoots, further exposing the crew. In 1980, People magazine reported that 91 cast and crew members developed cancer, with 46 passing away. This included Lee Van Cleef, Pedro Armendariz, Agnes Moorehead, director Dick Powell, and John Wayne, who died of stomach cancer at 72.
Congress has paid out $2 billion to residents of the very fallout area where The Conqueror was filmed.
Number 19. Roar. Tippi Hedren and her husband, Noel Marshall, loved big cats so much that they decided to make a movie featuring real tigers, lions, and cheetahs alongside human actors. Ignoring advice from animal trainers who warned them that these animals couldn't be safely filmed together, Hedren and Marshall went ahead with their project. Filming for Roar started in 1976 at Marshall's ranch in Acton, California, where he created a convincing African landscape. The production took 11 perilous years, during which many people were seriously injured. Marshall, who directed and starred in the film, bore the brunt of these dangers, sustaining numerous injuries, including gangrene. Melanie Griffith, Hedren's daughter, was mauled and needed 50 stitches to her face. Legendary cinematographer Jan de Bont was scalped and required 220 stitches, but returned to finish the movie. Assistant director Doran Pauper had his throat torn open and nearly lost an ear. In total, over 85 people were injured during the filming of Roar, making it one of the most dangerous film productions ever. Notably, no animals were harmed. Despite all this effort, Roar didn't get an American theatrical release until 2015, courtesy of Drafthouse Films, after debuting in Europe in 1981 to poor reviews. Tippi Hedren's 1985 book, The Cats of Shambhala, offers a detailed and fascinating look at the making of Roar.
It's just playing, I'm telling you.
But you could get killed.
The cat's got a little excited, that's all.
Number 18. Serana. Every once in a while, a film's behind-the-scenes story is just as intriguing as the movie itself. Serana is one of those films. During the famous torture scene, George Clooney suffered a serious injury, cracking his skull. The injury was bad, but the ensuing full body pain hinted at something worse. After his friend Lisa Kudrow sent him to her neurologist brother, Clooney's fears were confirmed. He had a 2.5-inch tear in his back, a 1/2-inch tear in his neck, and was leaking spinal fluid, even through his nose. For 15 days, Clooney had blood injections to seal the tears in his spine, which involved constant needle jabs to his spinal cord. Painkillers didn't help much, Vicodin wrecked his stomach, and morphine gave him severe anxiety. At one point, he even turned to alcohol. The injury changed him forever. During his recovery, his pain specialist gave him a tough reality check. You can't mourn for how you used to feel, because you're never going to feel that way again. The doctor was right. By 2014, almost a decade after filming Serana, Clooney was still seeking solutions, even traveling to Germany to consult a top specialist. Though it's little consolation, Clooney's performance earned him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
I want you to take him from his hotel, drug him, put him in the front of a car, and run a truck into him at 50 miles an hour.
Number 17. Maze Runner, The Death Cure. Maze Runner, The Death Cure is a dystopian sci-fi film directed by Wes Ball and based on James Dashner's 2011 novel. It's the sequel to Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials, and the third and final installment in the series. The film premiered in 2018 and brought back Dylan O'Brien, Kea Scodelario, Thomas Brody Sangster, Patricia Clarkson, and others from the previous movies, with Walton Goggins joining the cast. Dylan O'Brien played Thomas for the last time in this movie, his first leading role in a film. However, this role became memorable for another reason: a stunt gone wrong. Early in filming, O'Brien had a serious accident involving a motorcycle. He suffered a concussion, facial fractures, and other injuries, which halted production indefinitely. O'Brien had to undergo facial reconstructive surgery and faced months of recovery. During this time, he even considered quitting acting altogether. Fortunately, he decided to continue his career and returned to finish the film, bringing the Maze Runner series to a close. Despite the challenges, The Death Cure was a fitting end to the series, showcasing the resilience of its cast and crew. The film's journey from page to screen is a testament to the dedication and determination behind the scenes. Number 16. Back to the Future, Part 2, 1989. You might not realize it, but the hoverboard sequence in Back to the Future Part 2 was no walk in the park. Actually, it was pretty risky. The stunt work involved was so dangerous that one of the performers decided to step back. Lisa McCullough, who was part of the stunt team chasing Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, on hoverboards, felt uneasy about a particular stunt. It involved crashing into the clock tower, and after several failed practice attempts, McCullough chose to bow out. Cheryl Wheeler-Dixon stepped in to take McCullough's place. Though she was also nervous about the stunt, she pushed through and gave it a shot. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. During the stunt, Wheeler-Dixon crashed into a pillar and fell a whopping 30 feet onto concrete. It was a potentially fatal situation, but she was fortunate to survive. She ended up with significant injuries, including damage to her face and wrist, which required extensive reconstructive surgery. Despite this harrowing experience, Wheeler-Dixon didn't let it deter her from stunt work. She went on to perform stunts in other big films like Die Hard 2, Demolition Man, and Charlie's Angels. Her bravery and resilience are a testament to the high-stakes world of film stunts. Number 15. The Crow. In 1993, tragedy struck the film industry when Brandon Lee, the son of the legendary martial artist Bruce Lee, was fatally injured while filming The Crow. At just 28 years old, Lee was accidentally shot in the abdomen by a prop gun that had been incorrectly loaded. The gun, which was supposed to be using dummy rounds, had a metal tip from a previous bullet fragment lodged inside, leading to a fatal mishap. Michael Massey, who played the role of Fun Boy in the film, was the actor who fired the prop gun during the scene. He was unaware that the gun was improperly loaded with a dangerous projectile. This mistake resulted in a catastrophic accident that cut Lee's life short. Following a month-long investigation, North Carolina District Attorney Jerry Spivey decided not to press criminal charges against the production company, Crowvision, or the individuals involved. However, he did label the incident as a result of negligence by several people on the set. Brandon Lee's mother, Linda Lee Caldwell, and his fiancée, Eliza Hutton, pursued legal action against the film's producers and director Alex Prioris, eventually settling for an undisclosed amount. In the wake of this tragedy, Lee's family issued a heartfelt statement expressing their condolences to the family of Helena Hutchins, who was killed in a similar incident on the set of Rust. They emphasized that no one should ever be harmed by a gun on a film set. Number 14. Live Free or Die Hard. Live Free or Die Hard is based on the 1997 Wired magazine article A Farewell to Arms by John Carlin, with the title referencing New Hampshire's state motto, Live Free or Die. The film was a major success, grossing $388 million worldwide, making it the highest-grossing entry in the series. It received positive reviews from critics and stands out as the only Die Hard film to be released theatrically with a PG-13 rating, though an unrated version was later released on home media. Larry Rippenkroger, a veteran stunt performer with nearly 100 movies and TV shows under his belt, was Bruce Willis's stunt double for the film. While performing a stunt, Rippenkroger suffered a serious accident, falling 25 feet and being knocked unconscious. He sustained severe injuries, including broken facial bones, ribs, both wrists fractured, and a deflated lung. This led to a temporary halt in production due to his critical role in the film. Bruce Willis, a friend of Rippenkroger's, took care of the stuntman's family, arranging for them to stay near the hospital where Rippenkroger was being treated, and frequently visited him during his recovery. Thankfully, Rippenkroger recovered and later reprised his role as Willis's stunt double in A Good Day to Die Hard in 2013. Number 13. Rust. On October 21, 2021, a tragic accident occurred on the set of the film Rust at Bonanza Creek Ranch in New Mexico. Cinematographer Helena Hutchins was fatally shot and director Joel Souza was injured when actor Alec Baldwin fired a live round from a prop revolver. The incident was thoroughly investigated by several agencies, including the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, the New Mexico 1st Judicial District Attorney, the New Mexico Occupational Health and Safety Bureau, and the FBI. According to the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, neither Baldwin nor First Assistant Director David Halls was aware that the gun was loaded. In January 2023, Baldwin and armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed were each charged with involuntary manslaughter. Halls pled guilty to negligent use of a deadly weapon. Baldwin pled not guilty, but on April 20th, 2023, it was reported that the charges against him were being dropped. Gutierrez-Reed later faced additional charges for tampering with evidence. On March 6, 2024, she was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 18 months in prison on April 15, 2024. Baldwin was re-indicted on January 19, 2024, but the charges were dismissed on July 12, 2024 due to a Brady disclosure violation, with the judge noting that evidence had been withheld. This incident sparked a broader conversation about safety standards and the use of real guns on film sets.
If I'm going to shoot right, you want to go on the other side of the camera? I don't want to shoot toward you.
Number 12. Vampire in Brooklyn. Vampire in Brooklyn is a 1995 vampire comedy horror film directed by Wes Craven and starring Eddie Murphy, who also co-produced and co-wrote the film with his brothers Vernon Lynch and Charles Q. Murphy. The movie received mostly negative reviews and didn't meet box office expectations. However, it has since gained a cult following and has been reassessed for its humor, Craven's direction, and the performances of Murphy and Angela Bassett. In this largely overlooked film, Eddie Murphy plays a vampire trying to continue his lineage, while Angela Bassett portrays a NYPD detective caught in his web. Despite the film's mixed reception, a tragic event overshadowed its production. Sonia Davis, Bassett's stunt double, fell 42 feet to her death while performing a stunt. This led to a lawsuit from Davis's family against Paramount Studios and Eddie Murphy Productions, seeking $10 million. They alleged that the crew had failed to provide adequate safety measures. The legal proceedings were complicated further when the family's attorney passed away in July 1996. It remains unclear whether the case was settled out of court or dropped entirely. The tragedy highlighted serious concerns about safety on film sets and left a somber mark on the film's legacy.
And do you know who this killer is?
He's right behind you.
Number 11. Cover-Up. On October 12, 1984, John Eric Hexum was on the set of CBS's new spy thriller series Cover-Up when a tragic accident occurred. During a shooting delay, Hexum picked up a .44 Magnum pistol loaded with blanks, held it to his head and jokingly said, "Can you believe this crap?" before pulling the trigger. The 26-year-old thought the prop was harmless but the force of the blank cartridge was enough to drive a bone fragment the size of a quarter into his brain, causing severe internal bleeding. Hexum was rushed to Beverly Hills Medical Center, where he underwent 5 hours of surgery, but remained in a coma. Tragically, on October 18th, he was taken off life support and died. Anthony Hamilton was recast as the lead, and cover-up continued for 1 season. Hexum's mother, Greta, filed a lawsuit against 20th Century Fox and Glenn Larson Productions, which was settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. Jennifer O'Neill, Hexum's co-star, spoke to Fox News about the incident, calling it a tragedy. She emphasized the importance of gun safety on film sets, stating gun safety is essential and needs to be professionally addressed to prevent such tragic losses. Number 10. The Expendables. Sylvester Stallone's name is almost synonymous with the over-the-top action, and his Expendables series is a perfect showcase of that high-octane style. When it came to the Expendables II, Stallone, who had directed the first film, decided to step back from directing due to the production challenges faced on the original movie. He still wrote and starred in the sequel, but this time, seasoned action director Simon West, known for Con Air and The Mechanic, took over the helm. Despite West's experience, tragedy struck during the filming of a sequence by the 2nd Unit Team. 2 stuntmen were involved in a scene with a massive explosion near a rubber boat. The explosion resulted in serious injuries to Nuo's son and the tragic death of Kun Liu. Liu's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the film's producers, and after a lengthy 4-year court battle, they were awarded a modest sum of 195,000 Hong Kong dollars. It's around 270,000 US dollars. In a show of solidarity, Expendable star Jet Li stepped in and generously donated 800,000 US dollars to Liu's family. The tragedy underscored the real risks involved in high-stakes action filmmaking, even with experienced professionals behind the scenes.
In a stable condition at the moment, breathes by himself, is sociable, is well anesthetized.
Number 9. The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is often remembered for Heath Ledger's tragic death, but it also had another somber aspect. Conway Wycliffe, a 41-year-old New Zealand-born camera operator, lost his life during filming on September 24, 2007. Wycliffe was working on a scene at an industrial site near Chertsey, Surrey, when the 4x4 he was in hit a tree. At the time, he was filming out of the backseat window without a seatbelt. The case went to trial, and after less than 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Christopher Corbould, a special effects expert, not guilty of failing to ensure Wycliffe's safety. Corbould, who had recently won an Academy Award for his work on Inception, a film directed by Christopher Nolan, who also directed The Dark Knight, testified that he had followed all safety procedures. Corbould explained that he had thoroughly briefed the crew on the stunt, which involved the vehicle going up a ramp and flipping over. He stressed that every detail was communicated to ensure safety. Wycliffe, a father of 2, was declared dead at the scene from severe head injuries. The 4x4 had failed to make a turn and collided with the tree. An inquest in November 2018 had already deemed his death an accident. The Dark Knight is dedicated to both Heath Ledger and Conway Wycliffe. Number 8. Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. The final chapter of the Resident Evil film franchise might have otherwise slipped by unnoticed, if not for a series of tragic events that marred its production. Despite being a lackluster film, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter drew significant attention, but not for the reasons fans might have hoped. One major incident involved Olivia Jackson, a stunt double known for her work on high-profile films like Star Wars: The Force Awakens and Mad Max: Fury Road. Jackson was severely injured during a motorcycle stunt. While performing a complex maneuver, her left arm was crushed, resulting in its amputation. Despite the severity of her injuries, Jackson has shown remarkable resilience and continues to share her recovery journey on social media, serving as an inspiration to many. But Jackson's accident was just one of the tragedies on set. Another crew member, Ricardo Cornelius, was killed when an unsecured car on a rotating platform slid off and struck him. Cornelius was rushed to the hospital, but sadly succumbed to his injuries. These incidents overshadowed the film's release and brought a somber note to what was intended to be a thrilling conclusion to the long-running franchise. The film, dedicated to both Jackson and Cornelius, stands as a stark reminder of the inherent risks involved in high-stakes film production. Number 7. Catch-22. Feeling between a rock and a hard place isn't just a phrase when it comes to film production, and the making of Catch-22 is a perfect example of this. The 1970 film, directed by the acclaimed Mike Nichols, was based on the famous 1961 novel of the same name. Nichols brought on board John Jordan, one of the most respected aerial photographers and directors in the business. Filming took place primarily in Mexico. A special airfield was built on the Pacific coast near Guaymas, Sonora, at a cost of $180,000 for a 5-mile runway and an additional $250,000 for a 6,000-foot runway. Nichols even sent back 200 American extras after just a week of shooting. John Jordan, famous for his innovative camera and harness setups for helicopter filming, ran into trouble due to overconfidence. He chose not to wear a harness while filming from a B-25 bomber over the Gulf of Mexico. This risky decision proved fatal when a passing plane created a wind shear that caused the bomber to tilt, resulting in Jordan being sucked out of the plane. Tragically, he fell thousands of feet to his death, highlighting the perils of working in extreme conditions.
He's all crazy!
Of course he is. He has to be crazy to keep flying after all the close calls he's had.
Number 6. Midnight Rider. Filming for Midnight Rider, an adaptation of Greg Allman's autobiography, My Cross to Bear, began on February 20th, 2014. That chilly morning, cast and crew, including star William Hurt, gathered around the CSX Railroad in Wayne County, Georgia, to shoot a crucial scene. The scene was a dream sequence where Hurt, playing Allman, wakes up in a hospital bed on a train trestle high above the Altamaha River. Unfortunately, the production was operating illegally on an active railroad, having been denied permission to shoot at that location. While cameras were rolling, a train suddenly roared onto the set at 58 miles per hour. Many crew members couldn't clear the tracks in time, resulting in 7 injuries, including 1 severe case, and the tragic death of camera assistant Sarah Jones. Despite the tragedy, director Randall Miller and producer Jody Savin initially planned to continue with the film. However, intense backlash from the industry, William Hurt's departure, and Greg Allman's legal action put an end to those plans. On July 30th, 2014, 4 individuals involved, Miller, Savin, assistant director Hilary Schwartz, and production manager Jay Cedrus, were charged with involuntary manslaughter and criminal trespass. Miller was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but was released after serving just 1 year in 2016. The other defendants received 10 years of probation.
Seeing my coworker, friend, lose her life because of someone else's negligence.
Number 5. The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is a classic, but behind the scenes it was anything but magical due to a series of accidents that plagued the set. Margaret Hamilton, who brought the Wicked Witch of the West to life, endured severe 2nd and 3rd degree burns to her face and hands during a scene involving explosives. After a few weeks of recovery, she returned to the set but asked to be excused from any scenes with fireworks. Her stunt double, Betty Danko, took over those scenes but unfortunately also suffered lifelong injuries from another explosion. The troubles didn't end there, however. Buddy Ebsen, originally cast as the Tin Man, had to leave the production after suffering a severe reaction to the aluminum powder in his makeup. Ebsen's health issues were so serious that he was replaced by Jack Haley. These mishaps highlight the often unseen dangers of filming, especially in the early days when safety protocols were not as rigorous as they are today. Despite these challenges, the film went on to become a timeless classic, but the stories of the actors' struggles remain a reminder of the dangers of filming. Number 4. Twilight Zone, the movie. In 1982, actor and director Vic Morrow, well known for his roles in Combat and The Bad News Bears, joined the cast of Twilight Zone, the movie, with nearly 30 years of experience. Morrow, at 53, played Bill Connor, a bigot who finds himself transported back in time in a segment directed by John Landis. The film's final day of shooting took place at Indian Dunes Park near Santa Clarita, California, where a tragic accident occurred. During a scene set in the Vietnam War, Morrow, along with two young actors, 7-year-old Micah Din Lee and 6-year-old Renee Shin-Yi Chen, were filmed fleeing from a U.S. Army helicopter. A pyrotechnic explosion triggered the helicopter to crash, landing on the trio as Morrow was trying to shield the children. Tragically, all three were killed instantly, and 6 crew members on the helicopter sustained injuries. Following the accident, Landis and 4 others, including the helicopter pilot Dorsey Wingo, faced a 9-month trial for involuntary manslaughter and were ultimately acquitted. The families of Lee and Shen, as well as Morrow's children, pursued legal action against Warner Brothers and the individuals involved. The cases were settled out of court for an undisclosed amount.
And the thing started spinning around, and then all you could see was just blazing fire everywhere you looked, and then people running from the trees.
Number 3, Top Gun. Most on-set disasters can be traced back to something going wrong with a stunt or an accident, and sadly, these things happen. But when a tragedy strikes and no clear explanation is found, it's not just tragic, it's baffling. This is especially true when the disaster involves a plane crash, considering that flying is generally one of the safest ways to travel. One such incident involved Art Scholl, a renowned stunt pilot known for his work on films like The Right Stuff and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Scholl's expertise in aerial photography and stunts made him a natural choice for the 1986 Tom Cruise action flick Top Gun. Unfortunately, this film was his final project. While working on an aerial stunt sequence, Scholl was piloting his Pitts S2 camera plane. After executing a spin maneuver, he had trouble maintaining altitude. His reported last words were, "I have a problem. I have a real problem." Tragically, Scholl's plane crashed into the sea and was never recovered. Despite extensive searches, the cause of the crash remains a mystery, leaving many unanswered questions about what went wrong.
No!
Number 2, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is a 2010 fantasy film directed by David Yates and written by Steve Kloves. It's the first of 2 parts adapting J.K. Rowling's 2007 novel of the same name and follows Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This film is the 7th installment in the Harry Potter series. David Holmes, who was Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double for the first 6 Harry Potter films, suffered a tragic accident while working on Deathly Hallows Part 1. Holmes was rehearsing a jerkback stunt meant to mimic the effects of an explosion. According to a 2014 interview with The Mirror, he was thrown against the wall and landed on a crash mat. Sadly, this stunt led to a severe injury when his neck was broken, leaving him paralyzed. Now, using a wheelchair, Holmes has turned his experience into something positive. He's teamed up with Radcliffe to co-host a podcast called Cunning Stunts. The show features interviews with stunt performers from the film industry, sharing their stories and insights from behind the scenes.
And it was just a rehearsal that went wrong, and unfortunately I had my injury.
Number 1, Deadpool II. Deadpool 2 is a 2018 superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Deadpool. It's the follow-up to Deadpool 2016 and the 11th movie in the X-Men series. Filming started on June 17, 2017 at Hatley Castle in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, the stand-in for the X-Mansion in the X-Men films. Tragically, motorcyclist Joy Harris died while performing a stunt on the set of Deadpool 2, doubling for Zazie Beetz' character Domino. Although she successfully rehearsed the stunt, Harris performed it without proper safety gear due to time constraints. Dressed as Domino, she wasn't wearing a helmet when she lost control of her motorbike. She hit a curb and was thrown through a window of the Rogers Tower in Vancouver, where she was pronounced dead at the scene. This incident remains one of the most recent tragic accidents on a major movie set.
Accidents on film sets happen all the time.
And there you have it, folks. The 20 worst fatal accidents in Hollywood history. These tragic events serve as reminders of the dangers that come with filmmaking. As we reflect on these incidents, let's appreciate the hard work and risks that filmmakers and stunt performers take to entertain us. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.